UFC 291, Poirier versus Gaethje 2 takes place in only a matter of hours, and I'm going to go through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, giving my detailed prediction and breakdown for every single fight on the card. I'm not just saying who I believe is going to win. I've done that earlier this week. I'm trying to predict what limb is going to be used for a KO blow, what submission is going to be achieved, what round these things are going to be happening in if it does go to a decision, just how every single second of the fight is going to play out. We're going to start straight away with the early prelim opener of Miranda Maverick versus Priscila Cachoeira. I think this fight's going to start very tit for tat, very boring, and then Priscila Cachoeira is going to channel her sexuality and go, "No, I'm going to destroy." And she's going to destroy Miranda Maverick, crack her with a big punch, and then put her away against a cage, and then have some kind of, moment on the microphone afterwards where she said, "Yeah, I totally fucking put that bitch out cold." And I think she destroys Miranda Maverick in the first round by TKO, up against the fence. I can see her catching Miranda Maverick here as an upset. We move on, up the card, Matthew Semelsberger versus Uros Medic. I think we're going to see a situation where Uros Medic in the first round is outlanding Matthew Semelsberger, and then towards the end of the first round, I think we're going to get another first round KO here. I think Uros Medic is going to be looking quicker, faster, more technical, but Semelsberger is going to be tracking him down. And maybe actually I'm going to call a second round TKO here. I think Semelsberger is going to get a top position with a takedown because I think his wrestling is quite underrated because he used to be a light heavyweight and he held his own in the grappling department against a lot of them on the regional scene. So I think he's going to take down Uros Medic at some point at the end of the first round, mixing his grappling because that's how he got robbed by Jeremiah Wells, and he's going to start landing some good shots towards the end of the round. Uros is now going to be thinking about this in the second round, oh my god, is he going to shoot another takedown here? And Semelsberger is going to do a little level change, right hand over the top, cracking Uros Medic on the chin and finishing him on the ground by TKO. We move on to the prelims, Jake Matthews versus Darrius Flowers. I'm going to go with Jake Matthews by decision here. Darrius Flowers is going to have a decent first round. I think he's maybe going to give Jake Matthews some trouble, make him worry about some things, swing some big power shots. I'm actually going to go with a late round sub here for Jake Matthews. I'm changing my mind all over the place here. I'm going to go with Jake Matthews surviving a first round of some power shots from Darrius Flowers, starting to find his own timing and range, and landing a few of those good counter shots on him as well. And then in round two, he's going to start securing takedowns on a gassed out Darrius Flowers, who took the fight on short notice at altitude. And I think then he's going to get some trips and sweeps, dragging Darrius Flowers down, and maybe getting himself a rear naked choke, maybe an arm triangle, some kind of submission towards the end of round two. I'm going to say it's going to be an arm triangle. We move on to another fight up the card, which is Roman Kopylov versus Claudio Ribeiro. I'm going to go with Roman Kopylov by third round TKO here. I think they're going to have a decent scrap in the first round. Both guys landing decent shots, but Claudio Ribeiro landing the better of the shots, and maybe he cracks Roman Kopylov and Kopylov stumbles back, but sort of covers up against a cage and keeps a real nice defense. And then Claudio Ribeiro sort of starts slowing down a little bit and Kopylov starts coming on strong. Round two, we're going to see Kopylov get a bit more control. Ribeiro starts the round with some danger for the first 2.5 minutes maybe, and Kopylov starts beating him up towards the end of round two, starts mounting a bit of a comeback, landing some really big shots, and visibly towards the end of the round, we're going to see Claudio Ribeiro gassing for air on his stall between the second and the third. They're going to come out in the third round. Ribeiro's going to give a minute of fight, and then Kopylov's going to start marching him down, landing combinations, eventually finishing him with a multiple punch combination against the cage, sinking him to the ground, and finishing him by third round TKO. We're going to go onwards to CJ Vergara versus Vinicius Salvador. I'm going with CJ Vergara by decision. I think he's going to win this fight in the later rounds by mixing in a bit of grappling. Vinicius Salvador might give him a bit of trouble in the early round. CJ Vergara is going to go tit for tat with him. Both guys end up in the clinching moments. Maybe Salvador's doing a bit more work in the clinch, whereas Vergara's investing to the leg and digging to the body now and again on the feet as well. Maybe he gets cracked in the first round and then Salvador sort of goes for him a little bit. I think in the second and third round, though, we're going to see CJ Vergara sort of land a bit better shots, keep his range a bit more, stay out of danger against Vinicius Salvador, keep landing those leg kicks, keep landing some body shots, and eventually start working in some takedowns towards the end of those rounds, leading to a 29-28 decision win for himself, 2-1 to CJ Vergara. We move on. Up the card, Gabriel Bonfim versus Trevin Giles. I'm going to go with Gabriel Bonfim, and I'm going to pick him to win. I'm going to pick him to win by dash choke over Trevin Giles. That's what I'm going to go with here. I think they're both going to be going back and forth on the feet. Both guys landing decent shots. Maybe Trevin Giles looking loose, looking comfortable, popping out his jab 2 that he keeps going for all the time. Maybe Bonfim catches him on the feet here and there and keeps him honest and stops him from mounting any momentum and volume in the fight. So they both have to sort of get respect against each other in the first round. And as we go on in the end of the first round, we're going to see Gabriel Bonfim take down Trevin Giles at some point, end up in top position. Trevin Giles is going to be scrambling around. Bonfim's maybe going to go for the back, but not quite get it. And Giles ends up back up on his feet against a cage, but Bonfim's got the body lock, drags him back down again, keeps landing shots. They end up in a north-south position where Giles is going to try and get back up, and I think Bonfim's going to drag that dash choke all the way over and choke him out in the first round by submission. I've got Bonfim by dash choke here as Giles is trying to get back up from a takedown in the north-south position. We move on to another fight up the card, which is Michael Chiesa versus Kevin Holland. I'm going to go with Kevin Holland over Michael Chiesa. I think Kevin Holland is going to start this fight very erratic, very movement heavy. Chiesa's going to be doing the same thing, getting on his bike, moving around on the outside, trying to make Kevin Holland goes first. I think Kevin Holland's going to be having a lot of success in the first round and maybe even smell a bit of a finish towards the halfway point of the first round by landing some decent punches. But then I see in the chaos of him maybe going for a finish, Chiesa gets a takedown and sort of lays on him in half guard or full guard on top while Holland's slapping him and talking to him, and Chiesa's doing little pathetic NPC punches like the bitch he is. And then maybe Chiesa rides out the end of that round on top position, but Holland has done a bit more damage. Round 2, I think, is going to be a similar situation, but then when Kevin Holland lands, this time he stuffs the takedown of Michael Chiesa, and Chiesa's visibly looking very uncomfortable on the feet. And I think this time we're going to see Chiesa get cracked on the feet in the second round, start looking for his takedown, maybe get it sprawled by Holland and sort of bail to his back and try and play guard off his back, and Holland stands him back up, and Chiesa reluctantly gets back up to his feet. And I think Holland's going to catch him out of nowhere and put him away in the second round, being a little bit too obvious with the fact that he doesn't want to be standing anymore and he's just trying to set up the KO. So I think Holland's going to catch him with a big shot, and then Chiesa's going to try and get a hold of Holland in the clinch, and we're going to see Holland's vintage Anthony Hernandez performance elbow tag Chiesa on the inside and start ripping him with some really close shots and finishing him in the second round. We move on up the card to another fight, which is Tony Ferguson versus Bobby Green. Now, this one is sad to say. I'm predicting a full card of finishes pretty much here. This one's sad to say. I think Bobby Green's going to finish him in the first round quite badly, and I think it's going to be a bit of a ridiculing performance here. I think Tony Ferguson's going to be aggressive and start going after Bobby Green straight away with front kicks to the body, and maybe he even shoots a takedown early on just to mix it up and show that he's actually working on some other parts of his game. And then Bobby Green's going to stuff it, maybe get back up immediately against a cage and then separate from the clinch, and Ferguson might try a spinning elbow that misses and then sort of shake himself off a bit, ease himself into the fight. But I think as he starts coming forward a little bit more, he might land a good shot on Bobby Green. Bobby Green sort of mocks him and sort of mimics a shoulder roll and sort of points to his chin a little bit and beckons him on. And then as Tony Ferguson comes in again, we're going to see Bobby Green bap, tag him with a few good shots. Move out the way. Ferguson's still coming forward. He's having success with the front kicks, but whenever he goes for punches, we're going to see Bobby Green tag him again. Bap. Another jab. Bobby Green's moving around. He's talking. He's doing his little Philly shell that he does, mocking Tony Ferguson a little bit more. Ferguson's going to go in again for an uppercut off the lead hand. Bap. Bobby Green catches him, hurts him badly, goes to the ground. Bobby Green lands some good shots, lets Tony Ferguson back up, calls him back up. Ferguson gets back up, shakes himself off, starts coming in again. Boom. Bobby Green catches him again. Ferguson's still trying to chase him down. Bobby Green rocks him badly on the feet and then goes after Ferguson a little bit, but Ferguson survives by sort of spinning around and doing some weird retard shit. And then eventually he's going to start pursuing Bobby Green again towards the end of round 1. Boom. Bobby Green catches him again, throwing a jab with his chin up in the air like he normally does. And I think Bobby Green's going to sit him down badly, land a few follow-up shots. The referee's going to call it off. Tony Ferguson's going to recover after the referee calls it off, start complaining, get up, but he's wobbling all over the place. I see a really sad scene for Tony Ferguson. That's my honest opinion. We move on to another fight on the card, which is Derrick Lewis versus Marcos Rogerio de Lima. I'm going to go with Marcos Rogerio de Lima over Derrick Lewis. And I'm going to say he gets a pretty early submission over Derrick Lewis as well. I'm going to go with like a... what am I going to go with in terms of a submission? I might go with... maybe like a Kimura over Derrick Lewis. I can just see Derrick Lewis like turning over from his back on the ground and ending up on his side while like Rogerio de Lima's like sort of like getting him in like a straight arm lock, Kimura type situation where he's got a knee on the belly and he's starting to crank on the arm of Derrick Lewis and put it behind him, and Lewis's weight is acting against him. But I think that's gonna happen, and they're gonna get to the ground because I think Rogerio de Lima's gonna tag him early with the hand speed. I can see Lewis loading up early for some big shots, and then Rogerio keeps him honest and goes bam bam, catches him, and Lewis is all of a sudden a shell of himself and starting to really not be too offensive again. Maybe he goes in for another exchange, but Rogerio de Lima moves out of the way of it and starts chopping at the leg of Derrick Lewis. Couple more leg kicks land from Rogerio de Lima, moving out of the way of big shots from Derrick Lewis. And I think he's going to land another leg kick as Derrick Lewis goes for something. And I think he's going to sweep Derrick Lewis off of his feet. And I think he's going to land right in side control where he can progress to get that Kimura type submission over Derrick Lewis. That's what I'm going with for Marcos Rogerio de Lima. We move on to another fight on the card. Jan Blachowicz versus Alex Pereira. I'm going with Alex Pereira round 1 KO. That's what I'm going with here. I think Jan Blachowicz is going to be trying to get respect early on the feet. Maybe he's going to shoot a takedown at some point. I think he will check a couple of the kicks of Alex Pereira, but some of the kicks to the inside leg of Pereira will start getting through a little bit, and maybe he'll throw a couple front kicks to the body, and you start to see Jan start parrying at some of those kicks to clear them out of the way and start looking to reach and catch some of the kicks that Pereira's throwing, but not being too successful with it. I think Pereira's going to be doing like his power jab to the body and circling out to the side and rolling away from some of the right-hand counters of Jan Blachowicz. I think we're going to see an aggression and speed difference in the hands in this fight, and I can see Jan Blachowicz maybe shooting a takedown eventually after taking a couple decent shots from Pereira. Maybe Pereira slips a jab, lands a right-hand counter on Jan Blachowicz, and he kind of takes it but stumbles back, and Pereira starts coming forward, but Jan Blachowicz shoots a takedown. Pereira's ready for it. He moves out of the way. Jan Blachowicz ends up in the center of the octagon again. They're back at range. Pereira still coming forward, big shots. Maybe Pereira throws a jump knee that sort of lands to the chest of Blachowicz. They're sort of tangled up in the clinch, and then Pereira lands a knee to the body. Jan Blachowicz lands one back. They separate. Blachowicz throws a big shot, maybe cracks Pereira. Pereira moves backwards though. He takes it pretty well. Then they're going to go in for another exchange, and I can see Pereira slipping on the inside of a jab of Blachowicz, landing his right hook over the top. Blachowicz stumbling backwards up against the cage, realizing he's been tagged by a massive shot from Pereira, and then Pereira's going to go for him, start throwing some shots upstairs. Blachowicz is going to keep that right hand tucked to his chin, and I think that's when Pereira is going to rip the body with a left hook to the liver and finish Jan Blachowicz up against the cage with a nasty, nasty body shot followed up by ground and pound. I'm going with Alex Pereira by TKO in round 1. I got a real good feeling about it. We move on to another fight up the card, which is Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje. I think we're going to see Poirier doing a lot of, in the first round here, we're going to see Gaethje maybe trying to get a jab going, but Poirier jabbing with him and maybe getting the better of the jab. And then we're going to see Gaethje maybe start chopping at the leg, having some success at chopping to the leg. But then we see Poirier starting to throw his shots as Gaethje goes for the leg kick and maybe tag Gaethje a few times and start pressuring forward. And Gaethje starts landing some counter shots. They're in the clinch against each other. Both guys landing some single collar shots, uppercuts, dirty boxing in the clinch, end up against the cage. They separate. Gaethje's in the center. Poirier's up against the cage. Both guys doing good. Both guys landing shots. Maybe Poirier getting the better of things and pointing at Gaethje when he like pulls out of the way and tags him with a counter straight right hand or a counter anything that he lands on Gaethje, a counter hook maybe, and Gaethje sort of like nods it and goes, ah yeah, you kind of got me there, but stays on course, keeps chopping to the legs. Poirier still trying to tag him as he goes for the leg kicks. Gaethje's going to start digging to the body a little bit, starting to hunch up, land to the body, separate again. And I think we're going to see a moment where Poirier, after the first round, is going to be going a bit more aggressively in the second, thinking he has a boxing advantage. He's going to start teeing off on Justin Gaethje. And I think as he comes in and starts looking for these shots on Gaethje, I think we're going to see Gaethje cover up and uncork a nasty hook on Poirier's chin, wobbling him for a second, hurting him for a moment. Then Poirier recovers against the cage. Gaethje tears him up a bit, lands to the legs, lands to the body. Poirier starts landing back. The crowd's going crazy. This is what we were waiting for. Both guys are going back and forth. Poirier's now going after Gaethje again. And I think Gaethje's going to time him with a nice sort of catch left hook right on the chin of Dustin Poirier. Maybe a right hook over the top even instead on Dustin Poirier. And I think Poirier's actually going to get dropped by this, get back up, get hit against the cage a few more times, and Gaethje will start slipping up those uppercuts as Poirier's doing his little defense here, and they'll start tagging Poirier in the face, eventually start landing some leg kicks in close, some big right hands as Poirier's trying to circle out. I think he's going to finish Dustin Poirier by TKO. That's my vibe that I'm getting from this fight. So I'm going to go Justin Gaethje, second round TKO. I like putting it all on the line sometimes with these. I don't care. This is what I think is going to happen. And I'm willing to double down beyond belief to believe that that's going to happen. Okay? I'm calling it all. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. And goodbye.